From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark wraps up his conversation with outgoing National Cattlemen's Beef Association President Buck Wehrbein. I visit with America's Cultivation Corridor Executive Director Billi Hunt, and Special Correspondent Russ Parker talks with Kirk Dailey of Central Life Sciences. Now here are your hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, welcome into Iowa Ag Matters here on a Friday. Boy, big news right out of the gate today, Mark. We'll go ahead and talk about that. The Supreme Court said this morning that President Trump's tariff policies under the IEEPA are unconstitutional. And before we get into that, segment one of this show brought to you by Meristem Crop Performance. They help Iowa farmers take cost out and produce more bushels for less. Come see them at booth 3881 at Commodity Classic. It was a 6-3 decision. And what's interesting is since that announcement came, soybeans have taken a turn down the tank here. They were up modestly here this morning, but now down they were down as much as 15 cents, but now starting to pull back a little bit with that announcement. But, you remember we talked about this. We started out with 10% on most countries doing business right away when he issued the executive order the same day he was inaugurated. And then China got hit up to 145%. Canada and Mexico were at 25%, and Canada was increased to 35%. And so right now the tariffs have really caused problems, obviously, for small businesses. In fact, we heard from an organization called We Pay the Tariffs, who's already calling on the government to have to repay the small businesses for loans they had to take out to cover the costs of the tariff increase in prices, also for their goods, also because there's been hiring freezes because the small businesses can't afford to hire more people because of the tariffs. And so that, of course, is going to be something that'll have to be settled later on. But this is definitely developing as things go, and we're going to wait and see how this finds out. But again, this was a major blow, a 6-3 decision, so it wasn't even a close decision. I mean, even, when you look at it, only one of the three Supreme Court justices that the president has appointed in the first term had anything to do with supporting his decision. So it was a big blow to him here this morning.
Certainly, Dustin. And, full disclosure, this is all happening real time here today. So we're still learning about all the details that go into it. But this does feel like a situation, doesn't it, where, you get all of this toothpaste out of the tube. How do you put it back in? I mean, what happens with the money flow that has moved in different directions over this tariff battle and this trade war and everything that's happened? I mean, how do you reverse a lot of these things that have already happened? That's my question.
Well, and that's exactly it. And also now you want to negotiate trade deals and you just lost your leverage. Now, of course, though, the question's been raised by a couple people off the record, obviously. But, the question's been, how do you enforce this now? So the Supreme Court has said you can't do it. Well, who's going to enforce it? Is Congress going to buck against the president and tell him he has to peel him back? Is the Justice Department getting involved? I mean, how do you enforce it? And the next question is, once you know how to enforce it, is anybody there going to enforce it? Is there going to be enough dissension if it has to be a congressional decision? Is there enough dissension in the Republicans to say, hey, no, you got to pull it back. Supreme Court said so, pull it back and think of something else? Or are you just going to ignore it? Because, we've seen presidents ignore Supreme Court rulings in the past. It's not like it's anything new. I mean, you can go all the way back to Lincoln. I mean, you ignore Supreme Court rulings. But the thing is, this is what's been happening. It's going to be a big hit to your leverage in the trade negotiations. And, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how it gets enforced, if it gets enforced.
And I'm also wondering, about trade deals that have already happened and have been put in place. Were some of those done with the thought that, hey, these tariff implications are looming in the background, let's get a deal done so we don't have to deal with that type of thing? Are they still, like you said, going to be enforced as actually being a deal that is set and going forward? I mean, is that going to all reverse? I don't know exactly what's going to play out here, but there's a lot of moving parts that need to be figured out with this entire situation, and it's going to take a while, I would imagine.
Yeah, that it is. And, the trade deals, though, you have to imagine that if there was any tariffs in place, that having the trade deal would have removed them in the first place. So, again, it's going to take some time to sort out. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at those grain markets now as you're being joined by Joe Camp of Comstock Investments here to start off this Friday.
Joined today by Joe Camp of Comstock for the opening market discussion. Joe, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Higher grains so far. We've had an upside move led by the soybeans. All of a sudden, though, some leadership at times taken over by the wheat futures. There's been a lot of talk about general short covering. Sometimes that phrase is just thrown out there, but that really does fit with the fact that you have large speculators, the commodity trading funds, moving to get out of their short positions in the Chicago and Kansas City futures for one, but also in international markets. We see the same trend in the Euronext, in French wheat futures, also the Russian market having stabilized, a slight rebound here lately. That's more of a bullish point that we're seeing for wheat all of a sudden. But back to the soybeans, they've still been the star of the show. They've had leadership themselves from soybean oil. Soybean oil taking just a bit of a breather here this morning, but it was reported this week that we could be even closer than expected to learning about the finalization of the renewable volume targets. So that has been a favorable part of the market, while we otherwise still have some enthusiasm about what could be ahead on soybean exports because of progress with the trade agreement with China. You have got corn kind of caught in the middle here, but having a solid enough bounce, 2 or 3 cents higher. We're watching option expiration here today, and if that comes into effect, knowing that the March corn contracts have a lot of open interest still left over in the 430 strike.
Do we have a timeline on the renewable volume obligations, or is it just pure optimism that we're going to get them sometime soon?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. It's always an unknown. You think that you'll get them soon, and then here we're talking about imminently coming would be the volumes for 2026. And of course, we're well enough into 2026 now. The March is going to be the talked about harder deadline, if not still before these next handful of days, business days in February. So should be coming soon at least, but no definite date on that. Just like politically, another thing we're talking about, no definite date on the Supreme Court decision on tariff authority, although another report that it could come out as early as today, if not possibly again next week as well.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and Mark Magnuson had the chance at the NCBA convention in Nashville to catch up with the now outgoing president, Buck Wehrbein of the NCBA, Nebraska producer, and kind of have him reflect on the year that he led the organization.
Mark Magnuson with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Buck Wehrbein. He is the NCBA president. We are at CattleCon, the Cattle Industry Convention, and Buck getting close to wrapping up his term as president. And Buck, I've heard you talking with a few people here today that basically this past year has gone by very quickly for you. When you think about this year and what it's been like being in this role as a leader in this organization, I guess just what has it been like for you?
It's shocking how fast it goes by. When I took over in San Antonio a year ago, it seems like that was about a month. And so I got to about July, August, and I felt like I was hitting my stride, kind of knew what was going on and going to different state affiliates and talking. And I realized, holy mackerel, this is going by fast. And so here we are. And I think it's gone by fast because there's been so much good going on. The cattle market is just absolutely beyond any of our imagination. And that, of course, is fun.
What's been the most challenging thing for you in the leadership role over this past 12 months?
I would say the most challenging thing is dealing with, it's always dealing with the government, but this administration is so much friendlier to us than we had in the previous 4 years, and was friendly to us the previous 4 years to that. And having said that, when President Trump mentioned that beef prices were too high, that really hurt us and hurt a lot of us. And so, of course, we weren't happy about that, but that's one thing. We're grateful for all the good things that President Trump has done, but that's been a bit of a struggle and trying to walk that line and help their staff and so forth to understand where we are and to understand how we speak for producers. I mean, like I said, we are grassroots. So when the leadership talks, we're speaking for real producers out there.
And then finally, just to wrap up here, as you come to an event like this, you see the size, the scale, and the scope of the cattle industry in the United States. I guess with you being in your leadership position, is it a moment where you kind of have to just take it all in at an event like this because it is such a big deal and you know that you're kind of the leading voice for producers in this country?
That's well said. I don't know what there's 600,000 producers or something out there, and we got 25,000. So you could easily look and say, man, that's pretty small. But then you see, we could have 10,000 people here, and we'll almost undoubtedly set a record. And coming together and networking and visiting and old friends seeing each other, and this is amazing because all of our meetings everybody's engaged. They're jam-packed full. This facility is great. The meeting rooms are huge and they're still full. And so to see people here finding out what's going on and getting to vote on things is really gratifying. And then of course the trade show is an opportunity to see people you do business with and the different products that are out there and the new ones that are coming down the line. So it is amazing business. It's the biggest ag business there is. In Nebraska, it's the biggest business there is.
He is Buck Wehrbein, the outgoing president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Buck, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of the CattleCon 2026.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Spring planting starts with one smart decision. Corn Pro from Landis delivers a complete corn program with built-in savings. Nutritionals, herbicide, and fungicide, all working together in one plan backed by local expertise. Lock in competitive pricing, sign up any number of acres, and take advantage of 0% interest through 2026 to protect your cash flow. Less complexity, more performance. Get the most out of your corn crop with Corn Pro from Landis. Talk with your local Landis team today.
Time to run down those cash bids for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Friday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Taking a look at some of the elevators, Will, we only saw 4 of them make any moves, and most of them were raising their soybean bids just by maybe a penny or two. Let's take a look at where the pricing. Let's start at ADM Burlington. They're 11 cents under on corn, $4.16. Soybeans 14 cents under at $11.27. Cargill and Eddyville 12 cents under on corn, $4.15 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona 31 cents under on corn, $3.96. Soybeans 67 cents under at $10.74. At Ag State Sheldon, they're 18 cents under on corn, $4.09. Soybeans 75 cents under at $10.66. Ag State Elta 37 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.90. Soybeans 65 cents under at $10.76. Cargill Cedar Rapids a dime under on corn, $4.17 for the cash bid. Soybeans 40 cents under at $11.01 for their cash price. 5-Star Co-op Nashua 22 cents under on corn, $4.05. Soybeans 60 cents under at $10.81. At Lincoln Way Energy Nevada 17 cents under on corn, cash bid there $4.10. ADM Des Moines 50 cents under on soybeans, their cash price $10.91. New Co-op Red Oak 28 cents under on corn, $3.99. Soybeans 73 cents under at $10.68. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, they're 36 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.91. Soybeans 80 cents under, $10.61. New Co-op Sheraton 32 cents under on corn, $3.95. Soybeans 73 cents under, cash bid $10.68. Walk-On Feed Ranch 38 cents under on corn, $3.89. Soybeans 70 cents under, $10.71. New Co-op Glidden 30 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.97. Soybeans 67 cents under, $10.74. Innovative Ag Farley 39 cents under on corn, $3.88. Soybeans 72 cents under, they're at $10.69. And at Cargill Muscatine, the river is closed for the season. Deliveries will resume there the week of March the 23rd. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your cash bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. We'll be right back.
Stay informed with the closing market report from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your essential summary of the day's market activities and their impact on the agricultural economy. Join us for timely updates and expert commentary on commodity prices and market trends with trusted ag market analysts from around the Midwest. Tune in every Monday through Friday on your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate for your daily market recap and insights to stay ahead in the ag economy.
Here on Iowa Ag Matters, it is time to learn about a new program for experienced ag professionals to hone their skills, learn more, and continue their ag education. Here's Riley Smith with more.
A new statewide industry education and professional development program for professionals in the agriculture and food industries will launch in 2026. America's Cultivation Corridor will be hosting the Cultivate 360 program, designed to deepen understanding of Iowa's food and agriculture sector, polish leadership skills, and expand professional networks. I'm talking right now with Billi Hunt, the Executive Director of America's Cultivation Corridor. Billi, thank you so much for taking the time to visit today. And first off, Billi, what is the goal of the Cultivate 360 program?
Well, Riley, thank you for the time. The goal of the Cultivate 360 program is to help mid-career professionals in the food and ag industry across the state of Iowa just step away from their workplace for a day, 4 times during the summer, to learn and to get a greater understanding of the food and ag industry across the state of Iowa. Now, a lot of people may say, well, if you're mid-career, don't you get that? But when you're so focused on your business, so let's say you're working at a co-op or you're working at one of our amazing corporations in the state, you tend to clock in at the beginning of the day, focus on what your job is, and you get home to a high school sporting event or your family, and you repeat that day after day. And I worked in the industry for 20 years before I took the job at the corridor, and I thought I was working for the only company that innovated. And then I took this job and I realized, oh my goodness, we are such a powerhouse in the state of Iowa in so many sectors of the industry. And when you focus on only one sector, you only know one sector. And so when we did a perception survey, we found out that mid-career professionals, seasoned professionals, are feeling a little stagnant. So we developed this program to help them step out of their day-to-day activities, learn a little bit more, hoping when they come back, they have a broader view of the industry and can be even better leaders right where they're at in their own organization.
So when you talk about mid-career professionals, roughly what kind of experience are you looking for in participants in this program?
We're looking for those that have probably been out at least 12, 15 years. They're probably mid-managers, senior managers, directors in their organizations, plant managers in their organizations. And we're looking for people all across Iowa. And we're looking for people in animal science, plant science, bioprocessing, food processing, advanced manufacturing, the whole spectrum. One thing that we take for granted in the state of Iowa is the diversity of our industry. And no other state, I think, can represent the diverse sectors that our industry can. And that's what brings such a rich value to this program. If we can get representation across all the industries, you not only learn about your sector, but all the sectors. And that's what makes Iowa unique.
So when we look at what all is going to be included in this program, I know it's going to take place over 4 day-long sessions around the state with some big, Iowa company names. What all is going to be included kind of in that curriculum for this program?
Well, to be honest, it's hard to pack it all in 4 days. So we're trying hard, but we're also going to try to build some networking opportunities outside of the in-person piece. So the groups will be split into pods that they'll be able to do some networking outside of the in-person events, but we'll be in 4 locations across Iowa. This year, we're going to start in Sheffield up at Sukup Manufacturing to get some advanced manufacturing brought into the conversation. We'll also then be at Iowa State University for a day. We'll be in Kent Corporation in Muscatine for a day. And then we'll also have our wrap-up session in Des Moines. But each of the sessions will have a little bit of a flair of leadership development. One session is going to dive in really hard, not only on what is going on in the economy and the economics behind the food and ag industry, but what does that mean from the global sense all the way down to rural Main Street in Iowa. Another one's going to talk about the innovation in the industry and why we lead and how that impacts our different sectors of the industry. The one in Muscatine, I'm really excited about because it really is going to show the value chain from what a kernel of corn can do all the way to the the food we eat. And the other part about Muscatine is fun is we're going to take what does agriculture really mean to a community? And Muscatine is really fun about how the food and ag industry really supports the Muscatine community. So you're going to get that kind of twist in it. And then when we come back to Des Moines, we're going to talk a little bit about economic development and the value of the industry in our economic development. And it really does support our state. When you look at the state of Iowa, we really talk about how we have three major industries. We have advanced manufacturing, insurance and finance, and then agriculture. What we do know is of advanced manufacturing, probably 80% of that is tied to agriculture. When we look at finance and insurance, probably a good 50% of that's tied to food and agriculture. And of course, food and agriculture is food and agriculture. So we are a dominant part of this state. And so we're going to really dive into how that weaves through our whole economy here in the state.
A great opportunity for these mid-career Iowa ag professionals. Billi, for any industry professionals who are interested in signing up, how can they do that, and when will they know they've been selected?
Okay, so I encourage you today to go to cultivationcorridor.org. So do not go .com, go .org at the end. And right there's the button that says Cultivate 360. Click on that, and you can fill out a fairly brief application. We will go through those and have selections right after spring break. So mid-March, you'll hear if you're selected, and then the classes will begin in May. So it's a fairly quick turnaround, but it's a really fun program, a really simple application, and you'll hear about it soon. And we'll get our class announced in April, and we'll be ready to go. So I encourage everyone listening today, if you know somebody who's looking just to learn a little bit more or wants to be a better leader in their organization, here's a great opportunity to go a little deeper in our ag ecosystem, learn why Iowa is a powerhouse, and bring some stuff back to your organization to be a better leader, and not only in your organization, but in your community.
Spring planting starts with one smart decision. Corn Pro from Landis delivers a complete corn program with built-in savings. Nutritionals, herbicide, and fungicide, all working together in one plan backed by local expertise. Lock in competitive pricing, sign up any number of acres, and take advantage of 0% interest through 2026 to protect your cash flow. Less complexity, more performance. Get the most out of your corn crop with Corn Pro from Landis. Talk with your local Landis team today.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Joined today by Lori Carter of Comstock for the Midday Market discussion. Lori, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
We have the wheat leading the way today. Kansas City is up 10 to 10 3/4. Chicago wheat up 11.5 to 11 3/4. Corn is up 1 3/4 on the forward contract March. The back month's up about 3. Soybeans have been lower all morning, but are working their way back up anyway, down 2 cents on the March, down just a penny on the new crop November.
What is the way that the wheat market is heading? What has been causing it so far, do you think? Is it something that is a news story, or is it technical? What do you think is the case with wheat right now?
There's probably a combination of things: dry, dusty weather, and even fires in wheat growing areas, some geopolitical concerns about Iran. And then, honestly, probably some technical short covering as well.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
The cattle have been erratic all day. At the moment, we have live cattle down 10 cents on February. The back month's down 25 to 62, and feeder cattle down 50 to 87 cents. They have actually traded on both sides a couple of times today. So volatility is, I guess, the issue, but not much of a direction. The hogs are actually all trading higher. April up 32, the back month's up 62 to 80 cents.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
You can call me at 712-227-1171.
Lori Carter of Comstock, my guest here today. Thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
Spring planting starts with one smart decision. Corn Pro from Landis delivers a complete corn program with built-in savings. Nutritionals, herbicide, and fungicide, all working together in one plan backed by local expertise. Lock in competitive pricing, sign up any number of acres, and take advantage of 0% interest through 2026 to protect your cash flow. Less complexity, more performance. Get the most out of your corn crop with Corn Pro from Landis. Talk with your local Landis team today.
Start your weekend with insight and inspiration on Weekend Ag Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Every week we bring you an in-depth look at the top ag stories with a recap of the week's biggest headlines. Join us for long-format interviews with industry leaders and policymakers, giving you insights you won't hear anywhere else. And don't miss our faith-based segment with Russ Parker, Food for Thought, offering a perspective that helps bring clarity and focus to our lives. Make Weekend Ag Matters part of your weekend routine. Tune in every weekend on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
March corn up 1 3/4 at 427.5. March soybeans down 2 cents at 11.39. March soybean meal up 7 cents at 311.80. March soybean oil down 94 cents at 58.74. On the Merc, April live cattle down 65 cents at 242.78. March feeder cattle down 78 cents at 369.50. April lean hogs up 28 cents at 93.73. Class 3 milk down 57 cents at 16.37.
That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Well, we got more here on Iowa Ag Matters, looking at the markets and the livestock side of things, find out what's going on with those cattle and hogs here as the day rolls on. In fact, in the morning, we saw cattle actually a little bit lower, hogs a little bit higher. Joe Camp of Comstock Investments rejoining the conversation with Mark Magnuson.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
Quietly mixed here. We had some early push lower for feeder cattle futures, but they're now recovering. Live cattle holding strong. We talk a lot about the February live cattle contract being in delivery, and that's really key to the price action as of late, that you have had the board converge higher towards a firmer cash trade. And that's always the option at this point of the year, is that futures can go higher into expiration to meet higher cash if that's the case, or the other way around, and cash can come lower. And really, it's held up strong. We know about the fundamental tightness that still remains in that market. We'll have more guidance overall on the supply side numbers when we have a look after the bell today at the latest cattle on feed report. But for now, just a touch mixed here on cattle futures after a mostly stronger week. Also back up here after a bit of a breather into last week and early this week, now mostly higher on the hogs.
Are we still seeing those really high cash trade numbers, Joe?
Yeah, we are. And you think about the feeder cattle futures to start at the 370 and some change for the nearby feeder cattle futures contract right now. We're talking about some, well, they're outliers, but still a market that's traded as high as 396. I mean, we're knocking on the door at 400, and just some phenomenal market indications out there in the cash trade. And that would fit too with live cattle. If you talk about 246, roughly the benchmark, you could say that futures have gotten a little bit ahead of that now. So we'll watch that dynamic as the week wraps up. Also knowing that lately we've had a lot of late week cash trades, so that could still occur as well today.
Spring planting starts with one smart decision. Corn Pro from Landis delivers a complete corn program with built-in savings. Nutritionals, herbicide, and fungicide, all working together in one plan backed by local expertise. Lock in competitive pricing, sign up any number of acres, and take advantage of 0% interest through 2026 to protect your cash flow. Less complexity, more performance. Get the most out of your corn crop with Corn Pro from Landis. Talk with your local Landis team today.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, of course, as weather warms up, which is hard to believe right now with all the snow that just fell on the ground in central Iowa here overnight, but as the weather warms up, flies are going to be a big concern, and Russ Parker had a chance to talk with the folks at Central Life Sciences about that topic.
I am at the Central Life Sciences booth, and I'm with Kirk, Dailey. And Kirk, if you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit what you do, and then we're going to get into some conversation about some pretty cool things that Central Life Sciences is bringing to the market for animal health.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Kirk Dailey, and I'm a regional sales manager for Central Life Sciences, primarily in the upper Midwest. And I've got some exciting things to share in regards to fly control and integrated pest management.
So, Kirk, you're based in Central Illinois, and you have a sales district that's pretty good size area. So let's talk about the area that you serve, and then some of the things that you're observing, in the kind of cattle environment and how that kind of lines up with the products that you're bringing to the market.
You bet. Yeah, my primary area is in the upper Midwest, so I'm covering Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, maybe eastern Iowa, get into Indiana a little bit. First 7 years with the company was spent primarily on swine, calling on commercial swine barns and feed mills, cooperatives, and elevators that supported that. About 3 years ago, was given the Ridley Alltech accounts. So that includes Ridley Feed Ingredients in Mendota, Illinois, Ridley Block Operations in Mankato, Minnesota, and Hubbard Feeds Alltech out of Mankato, Minnesota as well. And they've just formed a joint venture with ADM that will be known forward from here, announced 3 days ago as Acrylose. So I'm supporting those accounts nationally. So pretty much my area that was just the I-states is now turned into all of America. And if I'm double or triple booked, I've got friends of mine that I work with that cover certain areas geographically like I do that I can call on to cover a meeting or to do a ranch visit or do whatever. So,
all right. So we were talking earlier about the dynamics of a little insect called a fly. And your business, at least on some of the products, centers around that little critter. So let's talk about that and what you bring to the market to help control flies, and at the same time, what that means to the industry.
Absolutely. When we look to control flies, in a former life, I sold feed for Purina and did that for a number of years and had the opportunity to come on board with Central and thought, you know what, who doesn't hate flies and what they do and how they afflict our animals and how they take profitability and dollars out of our pocket. So I thought it would be a pretty good gig to maybe hopefully ride off into the sunset and retirement here in a few years. But the deal with flies is we have basically two verticals that we operate within and support. Livestock feed additive, and that would have two products, primarily Elticid. Everybody refers to that in the old days as IGR, and Clarifly, larvicide. Both of those two products are IGRs. And what we mean by IGR is an insect growth regulator. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix that into the feed at a targeted rate. If it's in mineral, it might be a 4-ounce feed rate or a 6 or an 8. If it's in a complete feed, it might be more than that. But we are targeting a certain milligrams per kilogram. Diflubenzuron is the active ingredient in Clarifly. In Elticid, it's S-methoprene, so two different modes of action. And what we're targeting is the fly larvae that is in fresh manure. and they will either see that the S-methoprene alticid is in there synthetically and say, oh, I don't have to create that hormone, and thus in itself, kill itself in the larval phase. Or it will see clarifly in there, and clarifly is active. Diflubenzuron is that it's a chitin synthesis inhibitor. So as that larvae morphs from one instar to the next in the maggot phase, it has to assimilate chitin to put on a hard exoskeleton, and then that exoskeleton, they'll go into a state called pupae or pupa, and everybody knows what it is, maybe don't know what it's called, but it's the little red rice particle that you see in manure when you're cleaning your manure pens, paddocks, and what have you. If it's been there long enough, that pupa or pupae is a future generation of fly.
At the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, we deliver ag-focused content designed to complement your local radio station. From market updates to the latest ag news, our trusted farm broadcasters bring you the information you need while your local station keeps you connected to the heart of your community. And just like your local station, our broadcast team is Iowa-based, so we have feet on the ground across the state. Together, we're stronger for Iowa's farmers. This message from your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to Iowa Ag Matters. Join us again on Monday here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.